Okay, at this time, I'm going to just open up for the public hearing on ordinance 2025-4-1. If there is anyone here for the public hearing for the food trucks in commercial and industrial districts. And I don't see anyone here that I think would be here for that, so, okay. At this time, we will close the public hearing for the ordinance, and we will go ahead and call this meeting to order. So at this time, we will lead with a prayer, and James Shinko is here to lead us in that.
Let's bow our heads. Gracious God, we just pray for wisdom for our city leaders as they make decisions for us as a community. We pray for all those who are presenting business, that they would be given the words they need to speak for the discernment of our community. And we pray that you would continue to bless Livingston and Overton County, make it a great place to live, and help us to use the resources we have to lift up those most in need. We ask all of this in your Son's name. Amen.
Chief Smith. Okay, Ms. Phyllis, will you do a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Dale.
Present.
Alderman Elder.
Here.
Alderman Langford.
Here.
Alderman Linder.
Here.
Alderman Proctor.
Here.
Alderman Rubel.
Here.
All present.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Alderman Linder,
Second.
second by Alderman Dale. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. Okay, next on the agenda are public comments. Is there anyone in the audience here for public comments? And I don't see anyone that I think is here for public comments, so we will move on to additions or deletions to the agenda. I do have an addition. Ray Evans is going to be here for an update from the Main Street Historic District and going to be adding a resolution whenever he speaks, and that will be under new business under item number 1. Do I have a motion to accept that change to the agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Alderman Linder. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Alderman Rubel. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Are there any other additions or deletions to the agenda? Okay. Next, we will go on to old business, which is the air evac that you should have in your packets. We were waiting but found out that really the only one in this area that provides the air, it's called Air Medcare, the air evac insurance in this area is this company. So I did provide in your packet that it is $75 per employee. And so what she gave us a price here for 85, but that number of employees is higher than that. It ends up being 99 employees that would be covered under this. And this is something that would be, I mean, this covers them and the household. And just wanted to make sure that y'all knew a couple of things. I read in the stipulations, you guys may have read it too, that the only way you qualify to get transported is if their company, the attending medical professionals, deem it to be life or limb threatening or could lead to permanent disability, which would require the air ambulance transport. That's how you get qualified. You can't choose if you want to do it. It has to be qualified through that. Also, just a reminder that if an employee does get injured while they're on the job at the city would cover their medical care, and it wouldn't be, on them if it was air transport or whatever medical services would be provided, that our, workers' comp insurance would provide that care.
I have a question. Does their insurance that they have now not cover air evac?
I did get something from Tom, depending on which level of insurance they have, because you can, you have your highest level of insurance all the way down to your health savings accounts. Each one of them, if it's the city's insurance that they're on, it does cover, like if you have the most expensive plan, whatever plan that is, it covers everything but 15%, and then it goes down to 30%, and maybe the health savings account went all the way down to 50%. But it is a part of their health insurance plan, less that percentage amount.
Thank you.
It should, based on what I've read here, if they deem that it's medically necessary. So that has to be determined by them. So in this cost estimate, which this was only calculating on 85 people, it was $6,300, but it would be over $7,000 cost to the city to pay that for each employee.
How much are those flights up to now? When I signed up years ago, they were 8 to 10,000. I hear now things like 17,000.
Okay,
Let me ask one more thing.
well, if they were on the city job and got injured, this would not even come into play.
Right, but this is to cover them when they're away from the city.
Correct. Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Lankford to accept the air evac insurance.
Second it.
Okay, we have a second by Alderman Proctor.
I got a question. Can you show me where it talks about household being covered? I don't see anything about the household being covered in here. Because I think the last time when we originally got rid of it, most employees were paying for a household, and then the city was just pretty much wasting a spot. That's where I didn't see it in there. That's why I'm confused.
I do not see that in here, and I thought that I had actually read that. I know that's what it was previously, and most of them do cover the whole household, but hold on just a second. Well, I do not see that provision in here.
I'll rescind my second until we find out whether that is or not. Thank you, Rex.
Is this something that we want to move to our next meeting when we research that piece just a little bit more?
I mean, I do, because the only thing I see is it says a participant must be actively affiliated with the organization as a member, director, officer, employee, or similar relationship. If it's not going to cover the whole family, I just feel like we're wasting our money, because most people are going to buy their own household anyways, and then they're going to be covered as well. So why are we doubling down on something they're already going to get covered for?
Well, I currently have it. I pay $65 a year for the family, not just myself. So I think we need to, if we're going to do it, it needs to be the family included, I think.
Okay, so do I have a motion for us to table this to next month until we can clarify that piece of the pie, or?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to move it until we get further information.
Okay, we have a motion from Alderman Dale to table this to next month,
I'll second that.
and a second by Alderman Proctor. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, so we'll move that on to next month to clarify that piece. Okay, next on the agenda, we have the second reading of the food truck ordinance that we just referred to above. So it is the ordinance 2025-4-1, where we are allowing food trucks now to be permitted in all commercial and industrial, and residential only in public areas. So you can't, so just to clarify, the residential, we put that in there because our city ballpark is in a residential area. So the residential does not mean that you can have it at your house. It's just because the city ballpark was in the residential area that we ended up putting that in there. So, so that being said, do I have a motion to accept this ordinance?
I make a motion to accept it. The food's good.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Elder. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Alderman Rubel. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next on the agenda, we have, Ray, do you want to come first for Main Street Historic District? And I've told them that you have a resolution.
Thank you, Mayor. So y'all will recall that I've stood up here probably now 2 or 3 dozen times telling you that any day now we're going to bid and construct the courthouse plaza project. Well, we are now. We received bids on the 16th of April. Received a bid, but and it was substantially higher than the last budget estimate that we had from our engineers, which was probably 2 or 3 years ago. the mayor and I got on the phone with the TDOT folks, made them aware, got on the phone with the TDOT folks, and it appears that there is some additional monies left in the Transportation Alternatives Program pot. And TDOT has agreed to significantly increase our grant, has tentatively agreed to increase our grant substantially to cover the shortfall of the difference between the original grant and the price now. So the bid was for $1,490,909.89. As part of the process with TDOT, they wanted us to sit down with the contractor and review the bids and to make sure that they were fair and responsive. So last week, I guess the mayor and I and representatives from Los Design sit down with representatives from Midstate Construction, and we had probably a dozen bid items that we went into detail on as to why the number was what the number was. And the long and short of it is that by the time we were finished with that meeting, we all agreed that the bid was both fair and responsive. The construction cost, the labor cost in the last 2 or 3 years has just gone ballistic and much higher than it was before. So part of the process is that we had the meeting with TDOT. The engineers are ready to submit the complete bid package back to TDOT for review. As part of that package, you guys need to pass a resolution basically authorizing the mayor to award the contracts subject to TDOT's approval, and also agreeing to the new match, the 20% match, which is now $318,000, $613,18. I talked with Gene Gant earlier today. There's $115,700 that's in the downtown revitalization budget that's set aside for this project. So that will cover a significant portion of that. About 20 minutes ago, the County Commission Budget Committee agreed to cover 50% of the local match. So they agreed to cover $159,000 and change of the $318,000. So, and then this project will likely start in June, 6-month project. So that will even roll us over into the next year's state sales tax revenue income. So we'll have plenty of resources in that to continue the funding if necessary. And talking with Gene, he's agreed to add into his next year's budget whatever the number is that we need to move forward with. So what you have is before you is a resolution that in essence says in a lot fewer words than what I just said what the situation is, and agreeing to award the project to Midstate for the bid amount subject to TDOT's approval, and also to approve the local match of $318,613.18. And with that, I would ask that a motion for that effect.
Before you do, Ray, I got a question. So since they're matching 159, should this now say grant match of 159, whatever the change is, instead of 318?
I'm sorry, say it again, Ray.
Should the new grant match be 159?
Well, the way this will work is basically you guys will be responsible for the 318 as far as CDOT's concerned. And so that's why it has to be 318, but then you'll get reimbursed half of that from the county.
But you also said that Gene's got some in a or pot, maybe?
Say it again.
When you first started talking, you said Gene had so much set back.
Yes.
How much was it?
So in the current budget is $115,700.
So I get it. We got to approve the 318,000, but what the county's matching plus the 115, so you're roughly talking 40,000.
Yes, sir, that's right.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
I'll third it.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion to approve by Alderman Dale and a second by Alderman Linder. Okay, that threw me off on the third, Bruce. Okay. All right, let's do a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Elder,
Yes.
Alderman Langford,
Yes.
Alderman Linder,
Yes.
Alderman Proctor,
Yes.
Alderman Rubel,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dale.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, very
While
good.
I am up here, can I update two
Yes,
other projects
yes.
quickly? And our attorney will be glad to hear that we have finally made it to the top of the pile at the TDOT right-of-way office in Chattanooga to review the right-of-way documents on our sidewalk project. And he has promised to have a response to us next week. Now, I hope his response looks good, have at it. That's the last step that we have in order for TDOT to tell us that we're ready to bid that project. So hopefully that's going to be the answer. Recall that we applied for a economic and community development grant for the last lot in the county industrial park. We hope to hear from them within the next week or so that we will be invited to Nashville for presentations the first week in June. And almost always, if you get invited to the presentation, it's almost a certainty that you'll have the grant. So we'll report back to you all on that as soon as we have word that we've been invited. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ray. Thanks for the good news.
All right.
Okay, and next on the agenda is Zach Stevens with the Chamber of Commerce.
Actually, it's Gene Gant again. I know I don't look like Gene, but I am tonight, and then I'll be Zach. Gene couldn't be here. He had a scheduling conflict. He wanted me to remind you all that our May 31st concert live in Livingston is happening, and he hopes you all can attend. Now the Chamber of Commerce. It's like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde routine, I guess, this evening. This week is National Small Business Week, and if you all look around our downtown area, you will see many bustling shops and busy restaurants, and you'll also see, if you look at Gene Gant's business, you'll see a respiratory care company, and you'll also see a quality controls firm. But if you also look further out, you'll see some manufacturers. And you'll see Hutchinson, which employs 456 people. You'll see Parker Hannafin, which employs 231 people. You'll see Inawac, which employs 121. Now, while those might not seem like small businesses are considered under 500 people in the manufacturing world. And nationwide, two-thirds of all new jobs come from small businesses. And right here in Tennessee, 99% of businesses are small businesses. So at the Chamber of Commerce, we're, of course, pro-small business. And we do that through economic development work. We're working on entrepreneurship programming. We want that to flourish here in Livingston and Overton County. And we also want to use our tourism dollars wisely to bring folks to spend money here. So I would encourage you all to, as you go about your work as a legislative body, to think about our small businesses, but also as individuals to spend your money with them locally this week and throughout the year. Thank you all.
Thank you, Zach. Okay, next on the agenda, we have a resolution for approval of the wastewater treatment plant improvements, and Daniel Tribble is going to present that for us.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. My name is Daniel Tribble. I work with Greg at J.R. Walford and Company Consulting Engineers. The resolution that is before you this evening is for a project that we have at the wastewater treatment plant that is funded in part through a Community Development Block Grant, or a CDBG grant. The grant was applied for in 2023 cycle, and it was awarded late 23 in the amount of $450,000 to the town of Livingston, with other funds being supplied by the city itself. The project includes, after review with Danny Langford at the wastewater plant, the replacement of your sequencing batch reactor decanters, which are the mechanisms that allow wastewater or treated wastewater to leave your two basins at your facility, and also a replacement of equipment in your grit chambers, which remove, as the name would suspect, the grit and other small debris that are collected in the wastewater stream before being treated downstream in the unit processes. The bid opening was held on April the 8th. We received 3 qualified bids. W&O Construction from here in Livingston was the lowest responsible bidder at a bid cost of $878,000. We had the project construction estimated in 2023 when we went through the grant cycle at $600,000, with contingencies that were included in the are amount. The total additional funds that the city is going to have to provide for the project to move forward in full is $260,950, as the resolution states. It's our recommendation that the town accept this bid, that the mayor's authorized to sign it. These are pieces of equipment that need to be replaced, that have been in service for around 30 years and have been working well, but are showing signs of a deterioration and need to be replaced as typical things that your wastewater facility does. With that, I'll take any questions that you may have to ask.
If we do this upgrade, how many years will this get us?
Its design life is 20 years for this project.
Bill, I might point out that that's just for those pieces of equipment. You know, the facility went into service in '92, I think.
Yes.
And so there's other parts out there that may need to be addressed over time. But it was originally designed for a 20-year life, and here we are, what,
33 years later. Mm-hmm. And to Greg's point, we had another CDBG, the last CDBG project that was used for sewer in Livingston went to the wastewater plant, and we replaced the influent wastewater screen and some other improvements at your sludge handling facilities, which is typical for wastewater treatment plant repair and maintenance, as it is for any municipal facility.
Any other questions?
How's the budget look? Is it in the water department or somewhere else we could get it?
This would be from water sewer. So we already had some funds that were set aside for that, and this next budget will add the additional monies into it.
How much did we have set aside?
It was 300 in this current fiscal year's budget, so the other
This
would,
year.
yes, yes.
So we have 300,000 budgeted, and our part is say 261, is that correct?
That is not quite correct. That's the additional amount that is being required to be passed in this resolution to accept the bid. The total amount required by Livingston for the entire project is $539,678, if you want to be exact.
You have to think that you have other items that go into the budget as well. Engineering fees, administration fees, all those are into the total budget of the 500. Say that number again, Daniel, the 500.
39,000.
And I think on a fairly regular basis, I think we've figured out with water and sewer, you know, that we're always going to have some items that are going to have to be upgraded to keep us where we need to be.
What did he say the total cost was?
The total cost of the project or the bid? The total cost of the project, including the grant, is $989,678. $89,678. And of that amount, construction is $878,000, which is from the bid from W&O Construction.
And this will come out of the water department, correct? And sewer?
Yes.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table by Alderman Linder and a second by Alderman Elder to accept this resolution. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, guys. Next on the agenda, we have ordinance 2025-5-1 for building permit ordinance, and this kind of came about because of due to administrative tasks that go into inspections of all projects, and we felt like we needed to kind of have a minimum fee on this, so.
So all this does is set a minimum charge for a building permit application at $75. The way it is now, it's 1/2% of the total cost of the project, and because we require permits for things like roofs or decks, there's people coming in and paying, $2 for a building permit, and we have to go out there and inspect that. So the administrative cost of inspecting something that we only get $2 back for is just not efficient, is my understanding. So this would just change the ordinance to say 1/2% of the total cost of the project, or $75, whichever is higher. So anything over 75, 1/2%, you pay that, but it sets a minimum floor of $75 for a building permit application.
Any questions about that or discussion?
At today's rate, the 1/2% of whatever, it would have to be a $15,000 project in order to come up to $75. So what I'm getting at, there's a lot of projects that we do here in town that don't amount to $15,000.
I think that's true. I think the idea is to just recoup more, because if you're spending $5,000 on a project, $75 isn't in the big scheme of things all that much, but it would make a big difference to the city, who has to spend resources inspecting these projects. So,
On average, how many building permits do we sell per year?
Walter's getting ready to go over all of that, but on your packet that you have here right now, it talks about the permits that have just been done in 2025, so.
So far, we've done 28 permits for the year. And if you notice in April, we had like 16. That was due to, we had a lot of storm damage that came through. So there was a lot of roof permits that were sold during that time. And these roof permits, if they're done correctly, it requires 2 inspections. There'll be one after they get everything ripped off, and then I go out and inspect, make sure that they're doing the ice shield and the drip edge like they should be, and then there's a final inspection, and I go back after the job's completed.
You've got a lot of time in this.
Yes.
Walter, how many of those would have been over $75 out of those 28?
Any other questions?
I don't think $75 is unreasonable for a building permit. It makes, if I were putting a deck on, that would be a small part of my cost.
That's part of the, that's another, he's going to talk about his, yeah, no, that doesn't go with that. We were just using that as an example for our permitting here, so.
All right. I thought he was going to cater.
Okay, do I have a motion on the table?
I'll make a motion to accept the resolution.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Proctor. Do I have a second?
I'm going to second it.
Okay, a second by Alderman Elder. Any further discussion? Ms. Phyllis, let's do a roll call.
Alderman Langford,
No.
Alderman Linder,
Yes.
Alderman Proctor,
Yes.
Alderman Rubel,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dale,
No.
Alderman Elder,
Yes.
motion passed.
Okay, thank you. Walter, if you want to come up next for the property maintenance and permits update.
So just a quick update as far as where we're at for the year 2025. So the first area we will look at will be the property maintenance cases. This one unassigned, I'm working with iWorks to get them, figure out why that's in the system. Because if I look at all the cases, they've all been assigned, so, but it just shows up in the report. So year to date, we've closed 13 cases and have opened 17 for 2025. And these can be everything from overgrown lots to junk vehicles, just whatever, you know, is in violation of the property maintenance code. So, year to date, in the payments generated from that has been $10,747.41. The $275.91 that you see back in March, That was where we went out and cleaned up a property. We had sent them notification after notification, and then I created a work order and the city went out and cleaned it up. And then with that, just get a little bit of deeper dive into that, there was stuff that was metal. We actually took that up to Cooper's. What we received from Cooper's, we deducted that from their invoice, so this was the remaining balance that they paid. That $10,471.50 was the demolition, because we had the demolition contractor that we paid, and then plus the city had to go and we hauled like, I think it was 4 loads of dirt, try to fill in, and then also the seed and straw for the lot. Any questions on those? The next section is our permits. As we were talking earlier, we've seen April it had jumped to 16, but you see month by month, we went, January was 3, February 4, March 4, April 16, and then May, which we just started, we've already sold 1 permit. And these are everything from people coming in and setting up a modular home to decks, to new homes, or even remodelings like over at the hospital. They're remodeling the mammogram department. And then out at TCAT, we've had a lot of remodels out there as well. And here we'll see on the next section is what that looks like month by month, what we brought in from revenue for these different permits, which year to date, the total is $12,934.13. Any questions on the building permits?
Is there a way you could separate for our new building compared to decks or remodeling in your count?
Yep.
That would be interesting, I think.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, I'll definitely make sure on our next report, I'll show you as far as different types of permits. And then you see with the total permit activity for 2025, there's been 17 closed and 11 opened. And part of that 17 closed, it may have been a house that was started last year, and then this year it was a final inspection, so they got their certificate of occupancy, so that permit's been closed. The next one is the mobile food units, kind of give you an idea of what we've already brought in as far as with the food trucks. So far, we have had a total of 5 permit applications. 2 of those has been 1 day, and then 3 of those has been a yearly. And then as far as revenue, it's brought in a total of $860 so far this year with the food truck permits.
What locations were the permits for?
All of these actually were on private property, so. Any questions on those?
Are the permits picking up?
They are. They are. And matter of fact, there's been a lot that businesses has been contacting City Hall in regards to wanting to know when's this last reading going to pass. Because obviously that changes the whole dynamics of the game. Yeah.
Is a 1 year past 400, is that right?
That is correct.
I think you're missing one there on your chart.
That one because they haven't paid yet.
Okay.
Because if you notice, there's 5 applications that came in. One of them I'm waiting on them to finalize. So.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thanks, Walter. Okay, last item on the agenda is the bid on the new roof at the city garage, which is leaking. We only received 1 bid. from Dutch Boys Construction in the amount of $45,159.56. This was the only one, and, this garage is used by multiple departments, so we would, divide out the funding from gas, water, and general fund to cover this. And it needs to be fixed for safety reasons because it is leaking into our garage. So, any questions about that?
Is this a bid that we can depend on, that it's a qualified bid? Are they bonded and all that good stuff?
Walter knows the...
We actually and this is going back with a
These people local.
they are.
But the building,
Why do we just get one bid? I mean, why wouldn't somebody else want to bid on it if it was something, that's kind of weird to me, I don't know.
I don't know, we advertised it as required, and that's all we got, so.
Not only did we advertise in the paper, but I had reached out to a bunch of local contractors and tried to encourage people to bid. And for whatever reason, only one person did.
And it is a pretty tall building as well, pretty.
Because you really don't.
Any other discussion?
And it will be split up between all departments.
Yes, split between departments.
so we do have money available.
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to accept Dutch Boys Construction bid in the amount of $45,159.56, and a second by Alderman Dale. So, okay, let's take a vote.
Alderman Linder,
Yes.
Alderman Proctor,
Yes.
Alderman Rubel,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dale,
Yes.
Alderman Elder,
Yes.
Alderman Langford.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, do we have any other business? If not,
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn by Alderman Dale, of course, and second by
I'll second.
Alderman Rubel. All in favor? All opposed?